You are listening to the Why Smart Women podcast, the podcast that helps smart women work out why we repeatedly make the wrong decisions and how to make better ones. From relationships, career choices, finances, to faux fur jackets and kale smoothies. Every moment of every day, we're making decisions. Let's make them good ones. I'm your host, Annie McCubbin, and as a woman of a certain age, I've made my own share of really bad decisions. Not my husband, I don't mean him, though I did go through some shockers to find him. And I wish this podcast had been around to save me from myself. This podcast will give you insights into the working of your own brain, which will blow your mind. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm recording, and you are listening on this day. Always was, always will be, Aboriginal land. Well, hello, smart women and any men who've decided to join me on this week's episode of Why Smart Women. This week, I have as my very, very, very special guest, the second interview with my lovely husband, David McCubbin. Hello, David.
Hello, Annie. How are you today?
Thank you very much, David. I am well. How are you?
I'm good. I feel good to be your first reserve if you can't get anybody more interesting.
It's not true. That is not true. And the reason that we are going to be chatting is that there's big news out of the northern beaches of New South Wales in Sydney, which is where I live. For all those people that live in far-flung places of the world that may be wanting to look where we are on a map, northern beaches of Sydney in New South Wales, Australia. And this week we have done something momentous. We have decided, after 24 years of living in the same house, we have decided to downsize. And this, isn't it, David, is a very large and momentous decision, darling.
I never thought that I would come to this conclusion, that this would be the best course of action for us. I mean, I've always said to people that they'll take me out of here in a box.
Me too.
But something's changed. And I think that that's what we think is interesting, possibly. You know, people who are in similar situations, you know, making a big change at this time. And, what has been the thinking that has been activated by this choice?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The contributions to the thinking and how we arrived here. I was the same. I thought I will never ever leave here. We live in a very large property. We have chickens, we have dogs, we have a swimming pool, we have a sauna, we have a pizza oven. We have an enormous deck. We've got a massive amount of outdoors to enjoy, and which David has to take care of, me not having even remotely anything like a green thumb. And it is often in a state of absolute chaos, and it gets overgrown because it's so big. Nothing to do with you. You do the best you can, but it is very big, right?
Yeah, look, it is big. I wouldn't say that it's always in a state of chaos.
No, it's not. But it takes a lot to maintain it.
And I think the thing which is absolutely true about this place and the way that we think about it is that, you know, every Christmas, every Easter, every long weekend, I've somehow been doing some kind of project here. Because I thought that we would always be here, and I was thinking well into the future. So, whether it was putting the pool in and building the wall around the pool out of the rock that was dug out of the earth, that was an incredibly difficult job.
Long
but
and expensive.
Long and expensive, but also backbreaking. I think for about 6 weeks, every weekend I'd be working with the concrete grinder, chopping these large pieces of sandstone into blocks so we could build a wall. There's a stream that runs through the backyard.
And ponds, a series of ponds. Honestly, it's like the botanical gardens sort of meets some sort of hobby farm, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here? It's this astonishing sort of, I don't know.
And we always thought that we were going to be here forever. And so, I mean, what's going to be absolutely fascinating is the way that people value what they see when they come here, when they're not aware of any of the backstory.
When we came here, it was a bit of a post-apocalyptic wasteland, wasn't it? It was in a state of great disrepair and sort of dilapidation was certainly the garden.
Yeah, that's right.
And you turned it into this piece of magnificence.
Yeah, I mean, we cleared everything, we terraced it.
You did.
Well, no, I mean, you were there while it was happening.
Yeah, I pointed at it.
Yeah. That's we've got the gymnasium under the house, and we've got the infrared sauna up here, and all of these things were put in here, for a life that we thought that we were going to be leading, and that's no longer the case.
That's no longer the case. And now that we have begun this process of divesting ourselves of 24 years of stuff, that has been a very interesting process because yesterday when I was going through our pantry, we've got a walk-in pantry which people now call a butler's pantry, like we've got a butler. I'd like a butler. Would you like a butler?
A butler would be nice.
And they'd come in the evening and have gloves on and give us cocktails. Would you like that?
I wouldn't mind.
Where would they live? In the butler's pantry?
They would live in the butler's pantry.
It's small, but it's got a sink.
Well, that's what they call it, Where else is the butler going to live?
He just stands up in there with gloves on. Anyway, I was in the pantry, the butler's pantry, and I came across the meat grinder, David. And do you want to talk, would you like me to talk about the significance of the meat grinder and how that has replicated, it is representative of a number of things that have been replicated through our lives?
I think the easiest way to explain the
Aldi.
The meat grinder is the middle aisle at Aldi. And I went down there one day and
because can I just interrupt and say that the Aldi middle aisle was actually built for David McCubbin.
Fabulous.
It's built for you.
Fabulous. Where else would I have got my fog machine? Those theatrical fog machines. They had a fog machine.
God, you need that, don't you?
Yeah,
fog machine?
Who knows? It could add some real atmosphere to your
podcast.
Your podcast. But the meat grinder was a great idea.
Yeah, do go on.
Yeah, because we were looking at making sausages and
No, stop right there.
What?
Let's stop and just pause the conversation there because we were not looking at making any meat products at all from scratch. We were not.
Okay,
so
I was. I mean, what a wonderful opportunity.
What a ridiculous. But
you know how joyful it is when you go to the butcher and you get a lovely cut of meat, and then you put it into the meat grinder and you have rissoles that are as good as anything that you'll ever get in the world.
Okay, so
I worked out how to make sausages as well. A mystery to most people.
Mystery.
Yeah, but I learned how to do that.
Okay, just a couple.
Annie wasn't very fond of the meat grinder though.
Just a couple of things just around the meat.
She was quite hostile.
Yeah, I was hostile. I'll just tell you why.
I'm glad you admitted that.
Yeah, I was hostile.
Your hostility.
Yeah, no, it wasn't hostile. It was definite.
No, you were definitely hostile.
No, I was just.
You're quite hostile. What are you doing with that?
Yeah, I said, what are you doing with that?
Do you have to make so much noise?
It.
Yeah.
What do you do? What's that?
I'm making rissoles.
What for?
Because they'll be delicious.
What, from scratch?
Yeah, I can get some specs, some nice meat, some all the right kind of cuts, and make some really delicious hamburgers.
And so just around that, we don't eat. I very rarely eat a sausage or a rissole.
Yeah, that's because why would you? Why would you buy rissoles and sausages from a butcher or Coles?
Yeah.
Because they're not so nice. It's understandable why you wouldn't eat them.
Neither of our children eat any pork products. We don't know why they don't, but they don't. So you're going to put speck in them, which means it's now down to you and I consuming these rissoles. I don't eat rissoles or sausages. And if on the very, very, very rare occasion that I would eat one, do you know what I'd do, David? I'm just going to tell you what I'd do.
You give some to me?
No. I would go to the butcher and I would say to them, hello, please can I have half a dozen of those sausages? And they would put them in a bag and I would come home.
Okay, yes.
And I would cook them for you because I don't really eat them. But do go on about the usefulness of it.
This is making a lot of sense of your wishes for a butler.
I don't think correlating a butler with buying a ready-made sausage really. I don't know. I think that's a bridge too far. But go on about the thing.
The meat grinder is a wonderful opportunity to actually take more control over the food that you're making.
You know what it reminds me of?
What?
When you decided to make our own sauerkraut.
Yeah.
That was another favourite because you can actually go to the shop, David, and buy it.
Yeah, but do you know how much it costs?
Yeah.
Do you know how much a little?
Like $4.
No, it's like $15 for a decent jar of sauerkraut.
Yeah.
When you can actually make it yourself.
Not true. No, they're about $4. And how long did it take you?
Well, that's not nice sauerkraut.
Yeah. How did you evaluate whether or not it's nice? How do you know it wasn't nice?
Look, the sauerkraut that we made was spectacular.
No, you made.
Yeah, that's right. I made it. I made the sauerkraut.
Yeah.
I made the kimchi.
Yeah.
Cabbages and carrots and it was fantastic.
And then let's go on to the kefir.
The kefir,
the kefir period that we had.
Okay. So, kefir is fermented milk. You put the kefir into the milk and you leave it, and then it
grows.
It grows. It grows, and then you have lovely microbiotic rich milk.
Oh my God! So how many jugs of this ever growing kefir did we have in the fridge?
Oh, look, we only had two jugs maximum.
We had about 6 in the end. It took over the entire fridge. I couldn't even fit the sausages in.
See, I don't like to throw away anything.
That's right. So I just want, if I can just, before we return to why you tend to like these things, is that in the maybe 18 months ago, I located the meat grinder in the pantry.
Yeah.
And
why didn't we use it? We could have pulled it out. We could have made sausages for.
And what I did with it is we have a
Did
truck.
You throw it out?
Well, no.
If I go up and try and find the meat grinder, is it going to be there?
Yes. You know why it's there?
Why?
I put it on the truck. So what I did was I looked at it in the pantry and I thought, useless, time-consuming, space-consuming meat grinder. So I picked it up and I put it on the back of the truck with the other rubbish. And I'll just do a reenactment of David walking past the truck. La da 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 da. That's you walking past the truck.
La da da, okay.
La da 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 da. La da 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 da. Oh, hang on. What's that?
What's that? It's the meat grinder.
And then you said to me,
I want to keep that.
What for?
Because it's fun.
David, it's not fun. Leave it on the back of the truck. And anyway, then we went back to our lives and did something else. And then I came home, I don't know, and looked at the back of the pantry and you had secreted it at the back of the pantry.
Look, I just put it out of the way. You never know when you're going to need a meat grinder.
Yeah, I do know.
But
now it's going out permanently.
Have you also considered that we could deconstruct it and just take the motor out of it?
No.
Because that would be quite useful. You could have actually a motor on, because it's just like that. We could have that on a timer, and we could use that motor to open a vent for chicken feed. To be,
well, I just
funneled into the chook shed.
Just on the chickens, because we do have chickens, and I must say they're very nice and they do lay a lot. But when we go into an apartment, which is where we're going, we actually won't take the chickens. Have you worked that out?
No, you can get these lovely little small chicken containers.
No chickens in the apartment. As it is, we're attempting to move into an apartment.
Are those bylaws? Are those?
There'd be chicken bylaws. We're attempting to move into the apartment.
Chickens are fabulous.
They are fabulous, but they actually really drive me nuts because every time I walk out the back door, one of them, also they stand at the back door. The other day, one was on top of the stove eating a mango. It had got in the kitchen window.
Look, I know that's not ideal, but have you forgotten that it was your job to find out where the chickens were getting out of the chook run?
David set me up with some sort of human chicken cam. Because the chickens were getting out and they're at the back door all the time. Yesterday one of them was eating the black groodle's lunch and she's weirdly nervous of them unless they're in the kitchen, then she tries to kill them. So it's this strange power dynamic between the dogs and the chickens. But she was eating Yo-Yo's dinner, and when I tried to move her away, she was quite recalcitrant. She is
the chook.
Oh yeah.
Well,
churlish. Not churlish.
Remember, they're
obstructive.
They're descendants of the dinosaurs. They're like little feathered velociraptors, and so of course they're going to be able to hold their own against the groodle.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so where do we get up to?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay, so here's the thing. So we're at this point now where we're in a major
we're getting rid
divesting.
Of stuff.
We are in a divesting period.
I'm good with that.
And no, you're not.
Yeah, I am.
No,
I am.
No.
Yeah, clearly.
No. In your mind.
I've got rid of the patio heaters. Yes.
Did you?
Yeah. Oh. And all the wire cages that I had to put around the garden beds to stop the chickens getting in and eating the seedlings.
And also the rats.
That was a really clever piece of garden architecture.
It actually was.
But that's all going?
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So just, do you want to discuss, because I know that people are very interested in the whole notion of ADD, which we have spoken about before.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is it about ADD that makes you move from one project to the next with alacrity, and then get bored with that project and on to the next thing?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is definitely one of the recognisable dynamics in a lot of people who have ADHD, and that is that they'll get very focused on one particular project, and often the attraction is if it's a brand new project.
Like making sausages.
Yeah, like making sausages.
Okay, yeah.
Now, where did that come from? I think no, that's right. I saw it was when I saw the meat grinder, and I thought, we can make sausages out of
And
that.
in my experience of
Interesting,
you,
exciting, yeah.
your brain expands so you'll see a meat grinder just sitting in the middle aisle in Aldi, which they made for you, being aware that David McCubbin was on the planet. You see the meat grinder, and then you don't just see a meat grinder, you see an entire lifestyle
Possibility, yeah.
But it is often you'll say, and what we'll do is we'll be out the back, and the friends will have the music on, and we'll have the pizza oven on, and we'll all be having this sausage, and it'll be Friday night, and we'll have so and so around, and so around, and your brain immediately builds this sort of scenario where the sausages are being consumed. Is that what happens in your brain?
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas I just see a meat grinder and go, I don't want that.
Hostile.
There's my hostility.
Yeah.
So is that what happens? So tell me about that.
I mean, can I just ask, what would happen if you actually got behind it, and we became sausage makers together? Do you think that would change?
No, because we would never get anything done, because we'd be making sausages, we'd be riding electric bikes, we'd be making kefir,
Sauerkraut.
It would be making sauerkraut.
Yes.
We'd be building edifices in the backyard. We'd have some sort of dog minding puppy farm. I mean, at one point you wanted our large Groodle to not be desexed so that he could be a breeding dog.
Yeah.
So we'd be very busy doing doing many different things, wouldn't we?
Look, can you hear yourself? Can you just play back in your mind that last paragraph?
Is that about the puppies?
No, the whole business.
Yeah.
The puppy farm, the domestic agriculture, the entertaining, the events, what a fantastic life. I mean, truly.
We wouldn't have time to do any work.
Oh no, we'd fit that in.
As it is, you're up till 4:00 every morning working as well.
Well, but
so let's go back to what it is that makes the ADD brain, because I do see that sort of burst of imagination that that extrapolates out, and I'd like to know about that.
I mean, let's just a little correction. The ADD brain. There are many ADD brains. There's lots of different variations on it.
Good point.
I think the best that we can do is only get to know the way that particular condition is manifesting in an individual.
Good.
So my version of ADD.
There are traits, aren't there?
Yeah. Okay. So I know that I get excited by opportunity, and I think that that's pretty clear. You see something, and there is a tremendous attraction to doing this new and interesting thing, and so that's one side of it. That's one side.
And do we know what goes on in the brain that's causing that?
So do you know what I think goes on in the brain that is causing that? Okay, so my understanding of it is that we have a dopamine deficit disorder, so that we don't get the normal rewards that people get. Like you,
yes.
You've got dopamine, you've probably got serotonin on tap.
Yeah.
You generally feel good and feel happy, and you probably feel, let's see,
I'm easily fulfilled.
Yeah, easily fulfilled.
Yeah.
Quite happy with what you've got.
Yeah.
So
it's just luck, though. It's luck of my brain, right?
Yeah. So generally, the ADHD brain, and certainly, my experience of it, is that in the absence of that, it's like something needs to be done in order to get back to the place where everything is okay. So I think at the foundation of my experience of it is a lack of fulfillment, a lack of a sense that everything is okay. That there is something in the environment that if we remain in a static state, if we don't do something else, don't do something different, then something bad will happen.
Oh, it's a little bit like Well, that sounds a bit like anxiety, because I mean, I'm as you know, quite anxious, and I often have that sensation of things aren't quite right.
Yeah.
But
I think the flavour of it is different though. Look, I certainly understand anxiety. You know, I know what it's like when I'm anxious, but that tends to be more situational than it is pathological, I think, for me.
Mine's quite pathological.
That's right. So my pathology with the ADHD, and I think I got clear on this the very first time I took medication to treat it.
Thank God you did.
Well,
that's good for you.
Well, mate, yeah. Look, I definitely.
Why shouldn't you? We're all for it if you need it.
The experience that I had was not. You know, I think a lot of people talk about, you know, if you take Ritalin or something like that, then, you know, once exciting children become really dull and boring and sedated and yada, 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 yada. It wasn't anything like that at all, although I can imagine how an observer would come to that conclusion. On the medication, it was just a sense that things were okay and I had energy to do things that were, you know, uncomfortable or tedious or boring. Okay, so whatever was missing was, you know, replaced in that moment, and so it was no longer necessary to come up with a new way of feeding the family, you know, using roadkill, you know, to take one out of JFK's. You know, if I'd found a bear, I could have brought it home, skinned it, and, you know, put the meat through the meat grinder, and we could have had, you know, koala bear sausages.
Oh God!
Well, you know, that's what some people do.
With koalas, anyway.
So with the medication, it sort of helps me get into a bit more of a steady state. It's kind of interesting watching that pathology collide with with all the dramas that arise when you are moving house.
Like what?
Okay, so that propensity to become very excited about a new possibility.
Because that's going to... So the excitement of the new possibility fills in that dopamine deficit. Is that what happens?
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. When you're excited and you become, you know...
And it's new.
Yeah, that's right.
So something that's habit,
yep.
like me with my habits, that wouldn't do it for you, would it? The habit thing. Like, I don't need a new thing. I like the security of doing... I mean, not that I like new things and travel, but, you know, I go to the gym every day, for instance, like every single day.
Yeah. Look, I think it's incorrect to assume that somebody who has ADHD...
Shush, Yo-Yo. You keep talking while I bring the black Grudel in.
Yeah, okay. Look, I think it's a mistake to think that somebody who has ADHD can't get into a routine.
But you need lots of new routines, is my point.
No. I don't think that's right. I think that when I find a routine, and when I get...
You're talking about football?
Well, yeah, I'm talking about football. I'm talking about all the routines that we had when we were in the theatre. You know, I never missed a half-hour call. You know, I had my routines when I was working on set in film and television. That's
interesting.
Yeah.
Now, that's really, really, really interesting, because the thing about the theatre and film and television is the expectations and the frameworks and the structures are external. Right?
Yeah.
You cannot, and all of you that are out there, we come from a background of being professional actors, still occasionally do it, and when you're in a play, so you might do 8 shows a week, but you have to be in the theatre 35 minutes before the play goes up, before the play starts, in case something happens.
Minimum. That's the red line.
Bring in an understudy or, you know, something like that. So they're very, very strict on that. You can't turn up, you know, at 15 minutes before, because there's a series of calls that happen. They go half-hour call, 15-minute call, 5-minute call, right?
Yeah, some of your friends do.
Yeah. Well, that was very stressful for the rest of the actors. Stop it, Yo-Yo, it's naughty. Stop it. So, yeah, but that's true. But that's because those structures...
Here, look, it's the invisible dog.
Oh, hello, Yo-Yo.
She wants me to throw something.
That dog is indefatigable when it comes to fetching things.
Come on, Yo-Yo. What do you think about the move?
What do you think? Are you happy to move, Yo-Yo? But if we can go back, I think Yo-Yo's quite ADD too.
Mm-hmm. Off you get.
David, those are external structures. They're not internal.
That's right.
That's right. That's interesting.
Okay,
yeah.
and again...
And school, you would have been fine at school.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, but there's another nuance.
Yeah.
Because look, again, I'm only speaking from myself. It still comes down to that notion of security, right? Is it going to be okay? I know that a lot of people who grew up being undiagnosed with ADHD, they continually find themselves in unpleasant situations, moments when they're overwhelmed, moments when they're letting people down, okay?
That's your big button.
That's the big button.
That's your big button,
yeah.
is letting people down. Yeah.
And so there's an over-indexing of, is this activity actually going to keep me safe? Or is this activity actually going to create something that is good and lasting and sustainable? And yeah.
I'm not listening.
Yeah. So I know that when I give myself the opportunity to get into a rhythm, get into a routine, and go deep and wide, then I will probably do something pretty special.
Yeah.
So whether it's designing a program, or whether it's developing the capacity to be a half-decent goalkeeper at my age, I can get into a routine and a ritual and do the work and the graft and the grit, but I have to believe that this is going to work.
So when you design, because we run David and I have a communications consultancy, and I'm an ideas person. I've written books, I've got the podcast. I'm very, very big on ideas. But David is the one that will take those ideas and coalesce them and turn them into a program or design a session or put it into a proposal. I'm terrible at that.
Well, you just don't do it.
I just don't do it.
Yeah. You don't so much like working with patterns and templates. And,
no, I don't.
Yeah, and principles and those kind of things.
I like principles.
Yeah, that's right. But you're very immediate.
I'm very,
You're very immediate. Like Annie and I. Okay, so if we were just to shift into the downsizing, conversation for a moment, and the drama that can surround those things, just one little story is that it seemed that I was overly attached to the first property on the market that I went to visit. And we know that a fundamental rule in real estate, if you want to maintain your sanity, is don't buy before you sell if you are relying on the capital that you get from the sale to make the purchase. And I was terribly excited about this place because as far as I was concerned, it ticked all the boxes. And the way that I was talking about it, I think unsettled Annie tremendously because she thought I was going to go make an offer on it, or I was going to pressure her to make an offer on it and put us in a really uncomfortable situation.
Well, the thing is, when you get excited about things, what happens is, so my family's in real estate. My brother is the CEO of one agency, which is a real estate organisation here in Australia and New Zealand. And so I come from this sort of real estate background. And what happens is in your communication style, because you are a person of great intellect and great imagination, well, you are, you start saying things like, well, we've got to be nuanced in our response and talking in this language that, and talking to our daughter about it and saying it's this really great place and let's not be too definite about I know the rule says that you don't do this, but what if we had a long settlement and da-da-da. Now, those, you can't deny that they aren't indicators that you were thinking in that way.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah. Now, I didn't want to think in that way at all because it's very, very impractical and makes me nervous, and it's not what anybody should do. So the fact that your brain had gone into some sort of possibility that this would happen, it makes me anxious. And then I feel like I'm in the position where if I reject your thinking, right, if I reject your the parameters of your thinking, then you'll feel rejected. It's like when you reject an idea of yours, it's like I'm rejecting you and you take it personally. And then I feel in this sort of very difficult situation where I become more oblique in my communication about it. Right? And then that offends you. And what happened was you were talking about it, and then I think you got offended that I didn't want to contemplate it. Would that be right? You felt misunderstood, and that's a big thing for you.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You didn't like that.
And, you know, the message that I was getting was that you didn't trust that I was going to be able to think rationally about it.
Yeah, I was worried about that.
Yeah.
I was worried that you would get so excited.
Yeah.
And then I would go, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And then you'd be very offended by my lack of trust in you.
Yeah. So, can I talk to you about the role of identity in that?
Sure.
The role of identity in that. Okay, so this is probably slightly uncomfortable disclosure, but I recognise my thought process and why it's so important that you don't take a position that I'm not going to be able to make a decent decision, because there are two possibilities. I thought, you know, one possibility is that we seized the day, you know, took the chance, put us under that pressure, and if that went well, then we'd be fine. Or if at the moment when we'd have to make a decision about whether we'd, you know, take on that risk, if there wasn't enough information to support it, then I would have dropped it. Yeah? So that was always the equation for me, right?
But see this first bit here?
Yeah, and this first bit here. And this is
with the risk, I was never going to take that risk.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not interested in the risk.
Oh, look, and
you are. You're okay with a bit of risk.
Yeah. And this is where it comes around to identity. Because my risk-taking has actually, even though, even if it's been partly pathological, my desire to take risks has actually worked for me in the past.
Sometimes.
Okay. And let me ask you: are these would you consider that these were successful decisions, even though that they were risky?
Sure.
Okay. Number one.
Mm-hmm. Marrying me.
Marrying you.
Yeah, very good.
Asking you to marry me.
Yeah, that was risky, but good.
You know, a whole bunch of people have said, oh, you know, aren't you concerned about, you know, the age difference? And I know my mother was concerned. You know, would I be able to keep you in the manner to which you have become accustomed?
Oh, my God. Like I was some North Shore nightmare. Oh, my God. It's so funny.
Yeah, heaven forbid.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. So
moneyed nightmare.
Okay.
I never was.
So that was a risk. When we got married, we were still jobbing actors, and so we didn't have a heck of a lot of money. In fact, we had pretty much, you know, nothing at all. And when it came to the question of how long do we wait before we have children,
you said, "Let's do it."
Let's do it.
Yeah, and I just on that I didn't particularly want them because I was never wanted children because I was just really like dogs.
Yes,
and I would always pat a dog and ignore a baby. And, of course, David did, and because I was of a certain age, it was time to do it, and we did do it. And, of course, it was literally the best thing.
Yeah.
Best things we ever did in our whole lives. Our children are fantastic.
Yeah, that's right. You know, that was a risk.
Annoying sometimes, but fantastic.
I remember I was, you know, labouring away in the bottom half of the garden one day. I remember that very, very clearly, and you came out on the back veranda and you said, why don't we put a pool in?
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Also, I have no memory of these things.
Yeah.
Terrible.
And
David has a prodigious memory.
And I thought, okay, well, you know, let's.
Yes, it's true. Okay, so that there have been times when your risk taking, has worked out. Yeah, I agree, totally.
And if we think about our profession as an actor, or indeed as a trainer, as a coach, when you're dealing with people, you know, sometimes in order to have a strong impact. I mean, this was one of your bumper sticker statements years ago. You used to say, you know, the only good communication, the only effective communication is risky communication.
Yeah.
So, risk and identity. I have built an identity narrative around myself, whereas that I can see things that other people can't see. I can imagine possibilities. I can find my way from here to there.
You can.
And so I do have a, you know, that's the brain that I've got, or at least the brain that I think that I've got. And I know that I have started to invest in that idea of what is my value in the world? What is my value in this relationship? My value in this relationship is I will propose outlandishly, radically different directions to go in. Get married, have children, you know, get the dog, put the pool in, build a pond, put a sauna in, do all of those sorts of things. I do that in our personal life, but I also do it professionally.
Yeah, you do.
You know, a bold, creative idea is sometimes the thing that needs to cut through. So So when I am in a conversation with you and I'm seeing possibility, and you're going, no, I don't want to do that. I just don't want to do that. And I say, look, let's take a little bit of time and let me sort of paint the picture. And this is what I'm seeing, you know. So that's what I said. You know, these are the nuances of it. You know, I do fundamentally believe that the most persuasive argument is one where somebody can actually follow you, you know, can see it. That's the most persuasive argument. The challenge that I often face is that a lot of people aren't interested in staying in the conversation long enough.
Yes, because you go on too long. Well, you do sometimes,
Yeah.
don't you?
Well,
In order that people understand. Like you often will keep going and I'll say, I got this 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
like,
but I don't think you did.
Yeah, but I did. I do. I often
You
do.
you didn't get that I wasn't going to commit to buying the house.
But you were entertaining risk and I didn't want to.
And the only way that you can actually come up with a really, you know, out-of-the-box solution, a way forward, is if you do entertain risk.
Well,
the best way to do it is to entertain risk without actually taking it.
yes,
And
but
that was the thing that I objected to.
yes, I know. But then you get very, very offended. And then, I mean, I will suggest something and you won't like it. And it's a less of a personal thing with me. You get very offended and you got very cranky.
Those are your descriptions. Offended. Yes, I was cranky.
And how did you express that crankiness?
I said, don't talk to me anymore. I don't want to be part of this
And
conversation
then what
anymore.
did you do?
I got out of the car and I left.
Yeah, but you left in what manner?
I was frustrated.
Yes, I know. And what did you do with that frustration?
Oh, you wanted me to say you thought I slammed the door.
You did. You slammed the door and you were very cranky and you stormed off.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it.
Yeah. And why was I cranky?
Yes, but that's
Because I was offended.
because you were offended.
Because I was offended.
And I think that is part of the profile and I think we all have identity narratives, right? Don't we?
Yeah. Look. Yes, we do. Yes, we do have identity narratives.
We all of us have
Yeah.
identity
We have a story that we
narratives.
do. I'm this kind of person. I'm this kind of person. This is what I'm valued for. This is what
That's
I
right.
do.
And then we talk about the fact that if we're too aligned with that identity narrative, then we're inflexible in our thinking, correct? I'm not saying you, I'm saying all of us. If we get too aligned with the identity narrative, then we get inflexible.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think that the story that I tell myself about myself was in play. And what was really frustrating is I wasn't.
Yeah, I get that. I get
I
it.
wasn't primarily offended in relation to the decision about buying the house. I was really frustrated because I didn't think that you had actually indicated to me that you understood what I was thinking. That for you, what was most important was that we avoid the risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then that shuts out all the other conversation that we could be having around, okay, maybe this one isn't right, but let's get clear on.
Of course, but that's a different conversation, David. Let's get clear on. I don't resile from my position that you were in your brain entertaining these possibilities that I did not want to entertain on any level.
Yeah.
And that's the fundamental. And then you got. I mean, I know that you know that you are sort of saying that you just said don't speak to me, but you said it, and you've often spoken to me about saying things with interest.
Yeah.
There was a lot of interest in that. That had a lot of charge behind it. You slammed the door and you stormed off. And my thing is, I don't like that.
Yeah, I know.
I don't like that behaviour, and I don't want to be around it.
Yeah.
And I've never liked it, and I've always been really clear. And it's a good thing to know for women out there, I think.
Yes.
That it is. I mean, you're a very, very good. You're an excellent and gentle person. I mean, you're a magnificent husband. But on the rare occasion that you've done that, where you've got angry about something.
Yes.
What have I said?
What?
Don't what?
Yeah.
No.
I don't want to be spoken to like that.
I won't be spoken to like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And it's not that you do at all the time, not at all, but on the rare occasions. And just talking about that, thinking about women generally, is that I think that through the years, we've been together for a long time now, we have a very respectful style of communicating, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Very respectful.
Yes.
We're both very kind to each other. We're respectful. We're civil.
Yes.
Yes. With a lot of consideration towards the other person. And I think that those habits that we have were built in very, very, very early.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you come from your background is very
Yeah.
respectful as well.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of me, the female here, I was never ever going to be with someone who wasn't respectful, right? It was never going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think if more women had the sort of, if we felt okay about right in the very, very, very beginning part of our relationship, saying, no, I won't have that, don't do that, then you set the tone.
Yeah, yeah.
And if the person doesn't like it, well, then they can piss off.
That's right.
And you can find somebody else. But I think the tone of our relationship is really, really good, partially because you're a very reasonable human being with a strong feminist sort of through line through you. And I think I've got really good boundaries. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I don't know how much of the drama that we had yesterday was gendered.
Oh, okay.
You know, I don't know how much of it is gendered.
Yeah, I guess that's a really good point. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, yeah, maybe it wasn't gendered, but in terms of behavioural aspects,
Yes.
that is not something I would want to live with.
Yeah, yeah. I know. And you know the moment in question where you wanted me to spell it out, that I got out of the car and I slammed the door.
Mm.
What was the thing that I said immediately prior to that?
Don't speak to me.
Yeah. I don't want to talk to you at the moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to you at the moment. And
I didn't.
Because I got out of the car and left.
And it's dramatic.
It would have been more dramatic if I'd sat in the car
Yeah.
and told you what I was thinking and feeling at that time.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true.
Okay.
I think that's a very dramatic thing to do, to storm off.
I think it's better than sometimes saying what is on your mind in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, that is not unreasonable. It depending if you're able, after you've moved away from the situation, to look at the dynamics and reframe it.
Yeah, and I think that that's necessary. But even after all that we've spoken about, I still don't think you appreciate why I left the car yesterday. And the day before. And you still think it was because I was offended.
Look, at the end of the day, maybe, all I know is that you had a large emotional response to something, because I think you had got attached. I think, yo-yo poo. Oh, wow, that dog is something else. Whoa, it's yo-yo. Get out. What is wrong with you?
No, sleeping dogs lie.
Oh, my God.
let sleeping dogs fart.
Look, oh, my God. Yo-yo. Oh, and she looks so innocent. Now Ryder wants to come in. Anyway, I think we will continue this discussion, because the dynamics between people are interesting. And it's always very difficult to stand outside yourself for everybody and see your own part in something. So I think we will return to that. And I think we will also return to this notion of what it's going to be like for us to move after living in the same house for 24 years.
Yeah.
And because I think it is an interesting dynamic, and I think the whole business of change, how we deal with change, how we do then redefine our identity narrative, and what will be the components of that narrative, and just how we will see ourselves as we look to ourselves in the future. I think it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, certainly let Annie know whether you're interested in more of this particular story.
Oh, yes, please do.
Because what's ahead of us? I mean, at the moment we're getting the property ready to show. And there's a whole lot of drama associated with that.
Oh, my God. I've got like 1,000 books.
Yeah. I think there's going to be a bit of drama around the opens. There may be some drama around negotiations if we're given an offer before
Hopefully
we go
not
to
between us.
auction. Yeah, well, we demonstrated this week that we're still capable of it.
Yes.
So, when we did sit down to have a chat about it yesterday, and this goes back to the different ways that our mind thinks, what I wanted to do is to say, what are the principles that are going to guide our behaviour, our decision-making from this particular point forward? to get the clarity. These are the principles. And I know that what you wanted to do was you wanted to talk about putting...
I just wanted to make a fucking list.
Yeah.
Of what we had to do. I didn't want to put it through the values filter.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
But the thing is, you put it through the values filter anyway. Everything goes...
But I do anyway.
That's right. Everything goes through a values filter, so we might as well agree on what the values are going to be.
But we do agree. Our minds work very differently, don't they? But in I think our minds work differently, but in quite a complementary manner, don't you think?
Yeah, not a catastrophic way. It's not a catastrophic difference between us.
No, not at all. But there's almost we just have a different approach, and that's okay. But we will keep you informed about how we're getting on.
If you're interested.
If you're interested. I mean, I my friend came over and I have 1,000 books, literally. And it's been... David will tell you that I'm pretty non-sentimental about stuff. I love chucking stuff out, except for the books. Oh my God, the books. It was so hard letting go of those books. They are so... I don't reread them. I don't even open them, but I just look at them and they just make me so happy. They're sitting there, all the little stories that are now in my brain. I love them. And now they're going. But they're going, and that has to be okay because we can't take 1,000 books with us.
No, we can't take 1,000 books, and I think I'm pretty sure that we can't take 2 dogs with us. So we're going to have to make a choice.
Oh my God, Sophie's choice of the Groodles. Oh my God, we'll take the one that isn't as smelly. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. David and I will be back to talk about downsizing in the Northern Beaches.
Yeah. I mean, if you're interested.
Of course they're interested. We're fascinating. Bye. Thanks for tuning in. Bye. Say goodbye, David. Say goodbye, Yo-Yo. God, she stinks. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning into Why Smart Women with me, Annie McCubbin. I hope today's episode has ignited your curiosity and left you feeling inspired by my anti-motivational style. Join me next time as we continue to unravel the fascinating layers of our brains and develop ways to sort out the fact from the fiction and the over 6,000 thoughts we have in the course of every day. Remember, intelligence isn't enough. You can be as smart as paint, but it's not just about what you know, it's about how you think. And in all this talk of whether or not you can trust your gut, if you ever feel unsafe, whether it's in the street, at work, car park, in a bar, or in your own home, please respect that gut feeling. Staying safe needs to be our primary objective. We can build better lives, but we have to stay safe to do that. And don't forget to subscribe, rate and review the podcast and share it with your fellow smart women and allies. Together we're hopefully reshaping the narrative around women and making better decisions. So until next time, stay sharp, stay savvy, and keep your critical thinking hat shiny. This is Annie McCubbin signing off from Why Smart Women. See you later. This episode was produced by Harrison Hess. It was executive produced and written by me, Annie McCubbin.